From the NewsTalkSTL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. On tonight's episode, political trivia savant Rich Rubino, conspiracy theorist Rachael Vavra, and the Right Mind studio band, Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Schowalter.
Thank you very much, Robo Man. Boy, I tell you, if things couldn't get any worse. I mean, this and I'm usually not like a kind of guy that complains too much. But between this is just freezing weather, the ice, the snow, and everything else, I understand that you. Joey, my best butt, you have no voice, basically. And so, today we've got like an AI bot sitting in for you.
I love you, Todd.
Wow.
And the robot loves you.
I love you, too. I mean, can it get any more bizarre?
Snowpocalypse 2025 came and a few lives were changed for the worse. That's what I got to say about that.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, so okay, I thought I had it bad, but, you said you actually, and I'm going to let you tell the story because it's kind of like you're a survivor, you're a victim, but you have been stranded here and they made you stay not at they didn't even let
Not
you.
a Hilton.
Nope. Not a Holiday Inn Express.
Marriott.
Yeah, across the street. You've been stranded here. You've been working to the bone, and you lost your voice to the point where you're being replaced by an AI robot. What happened to you, my friend?
Well, we all knew Snowpocalypse was coming because our great friends over at Channel 4, KMOV, the CBS affiliate here, Steve Templeton, he is the man. If his sleeves are rolled up, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes on and he says, you need to start packing your stuff and staying at a hotel because that's what I'm doing. That's what Steve Templeton literally got a hotel next door to Channel 4 because he was too afraid to go home.
Was he with you now? Did you guys share a room?
Well, our two studios are pretty close to each other,
I know.
but he was at one down the street.
Oh, okay.
So what happened
was...
A nicer
one? I'm sorry.
A much nicer one.
Oh, he's Steve. Yeah, go ahead. Now, what happened?
And what happened was our good friend Tony Colombo, who has the afternoon show on NewsTalkSTL, he's texting with Steve Templeton, the weatherman.
Oh, so they stayed together.
And he said, yes, get Joey V a hotel room. It's going to be bad.
Okay.
So what Tony did was he got me a hotel room he got me Saturday night to avoid the snow.
Yeah.
And then Sunday night so I could come to work on Monday.
Okay.
And then I walked across the street. Everything was great. I was like the only one here.
Yes.
I'm the only one that showed up to work that day. Everyone else worked remote. And then he said, no more free rides, buddy. You got to get the heck out of here. So,
Whoa. Back up.
No more
trailer.
free hotel rooms.
So wait, you're staying here, okay? And you're dedicated, and you're showing how dedicated you are to the station, putting your life on the line, kicking Steve Templeton out so he could stay at a nicer hotel, and then you find out that your stay had been up. I mean, you can't stay any longer. They were kicking you out. Who actually kicked you out?
Tony said.
Tony did.
He said that ship has sailed. You only get 2 free nights, and you have to go home.
There's no ship. You're stuck over there. What happened?
I drove all the way home, and my house is in the city across from Forest Park.
Oh, yeah.
And it has not touched a snowplow blade the entire Snowpocalypse.
Nothing's good in the city.
Snow is 8 inches high as soon as I get off the highway into my neighborhood.
My.
And my car gets stuck immediately in the neighborhood. Someone had to push me because I was in the middle of the road.
Push you in the car?
So they pushed the car into some sort of parking spot.
Okay.
And then I just walked up the hill to my house and with my bags on my shoulders from the hotel room.
What a living hell this is. I can't believe you... Why did Tony not let you just stay another night?
Tony, who's friends with the guys over at Weber Chevrolet,
really
has a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, and Tony don't give a fudge about nothing.
Wow.
Us front-wheel drive losers have to just make our way around the St. Louis area where no snowplows feel like working anymore.
Oh, my goodness. And I thought, you know what? I thought I had it bad because I ran out of pretzels. I mean, but you, my friend, have been stuck in a... do you need a hug?
I might need a hug.
Okay, but then you lose your voice and you're almost replaced by this bald robot here on the computer screen that talks, and he did the whole intro. Does that mean he's not taking over for you, are you? Because because I won't have that. I just won't have it.
Did you laugh at all when you heard his voice?
Yes, I did.
All right, well, then my job's goner, because if he's funnier than me, then I don't need to be on the air.
Well, it's only a matter of a time. They already got rid of Mitch. I don't see him today. Where the heck is he? Back in his hotel room?
He's in his hotel room.
Oh, my goodness.
He's making banjos out of tissue boxes and rubber bands.
Well, I guess I'm next. I guess, what are they going to replace me with? Somebody that looks like Al Roker? I mean, what's going to happen?
The only way I made it here is that my girl's car was parked at our house at the top of the hill.
Yes.
And I dug that freaking thing out with a dustpan. I don't own a snow shovel.
A dustpan?
I had a dustpan that I was just on my knees pulling the snow out from underneath the tires so I could get a little bit of traction, and then shoving it into a big pile in my yard.
Oh, that's just horrible. Now, here's the question.
I drove her car to work, and then now I've been afraid to go back into my neighborhood ever since.
I'm just gonna skip my question, because my question to you when I came in here before I heard this horrible story, which I'm still recovering from, was whether or not you were going to be a father in October. Because usually, everybody's all huddled together, but you weren't. Okay, you were all by yourself with Steve Templeton across the street, and I thought, well, maybe you've been together with the girl so long that you kind of got together, and now you're going to be a father in 9 months. But no, right?
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
This guy, he even knows how to quote Indiana Jones.
So he's taking over for you. That's basically where we're going with this.
I knew you love Sean Connery, so I was trying to think
he's actually here. Hang on a second.
Sean Connery adjacent.
So you want to be a soccer player, Mr. Williams?
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
What? No time for love?
That's from the second Indiana Jones movie. Short Round. He's a funny guy. Yeah, there was no time for love because I was stranded in my hotel room.
It's terrible.
Tony Colombo, his silly goose of a guy, he said, "Oh, you're going to have so much fun stranded in this hotel room. They have a pool." They did not have a pool. This guy is crazy. He did not look at the amenities list on the Marriott across the street. There was no pool. I packed my swimming trunk because he told me to.
Yeah.
No pool. And then he said, "How come your girlfriend didn't come stay with you? You had a free hotel room." Like, well, Snowpocalypse, Tony.
Yeah.
She couldn't get out of her house to come see me. And then what? She'd be snowed in this hotel room working from her computer? I don't think so.
And then you would have been a father in October. But
exactly.
I'm starting to think. Larry Connors has his big, his big Italy trip, that he keeps talking about.
Like April 25th, I think.
Right. Now, Tony didn't put that together, did he? Because if Tony's the new travel agent for the station, Larry's going to be across the street with Steve Templeton, and nobody's going to want to go.
It's kind of like Italy, yeah.
Yeah,
there's baguettes in the lobby for breakfast.
Well, I am so sorry to hear this horrible story. And again, my pain of not having pretzels from Aldi's, I mean, I guess that just really doesn't hold a candle to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of the sickness, and the craziness of it all is that I went on a different radio station on Sunday night for the Golden Globes.
Yes, okay.
And we just talked about the Golden Globes, for an hour, and I lost my voice.
Oh.
On the radio.
Well, you got this guy now.
And now I got this show. I forgot. I didn't even warn you that I had lost my voice. So you just came in, and I was like, Todd, it's going to be a terrible show because I'm not going to sound as pretty as I used to.
It's lucky for you that I know ventriloquism.
Oh, okay. That's what that hand was. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what the other hand is. But you know what? I had an idea, though, because everybody, I told you, I want to just get rid of the month of January. And everybody was really shooting that down, saying, no, you can't do that because, it's just not going to work. I go, yeah, 3, more days to every other month. But everybody shot it down. Here's my new idea. Are you ready for this one? Mm-hmm. What if we just changed the beginning of the year to like June or July, And that way, we could even put Christmas. Make Christmas like June 25th. That way, you end the year in warm conditions and you start the year in warm conditions. And then by the time it gets to this crap, it's only the middle of the year and you don't feel like your whole year's going to be bad.
No offense, but this sounds like the exact same plan of just getting rid of January, except you did a little manipulation of which months were.
But I'm trying to please everyone. See, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm trying to show that there are options. It's like my other thing. Well, what are you going to do about the court system? I got this new idea for the court system. Okay, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Like, say you got to go on trial or you're a juror or something like that. What if you had the court system in an actual food court? Okay, that way when you have your trial, if you wanted a sandwich, it's right there.
This reminds
me. And I'm
me.
going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Oh, get it. Get it.
I got it. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, this reminds me of a classic episode of the cartoon Garfield and Friends where Garfield, I think he had a genie or something, and he wished that there were no more Mondays. Everyone knows how much Garfield hates Mondays. You know what happened?
No.
John, his owner.
John is. People used to say I resemble him.
He never got paid again because his paycheck came on Mondays, and so John just never got paid again. And then Garfield had to go whoring to raise money to pay the rent. Yeah,
I haven't seen that episode. You know,
Classic episode.
Jim Davis, the guy that does Garfield, he's got a whole staff of people. Did you know that? He's got somebody that like sketches, like inks it and colors it. I don't know what Jim does. I think Jim's over at the place where you were with Steve Templeton at that hotel across the street.
That's what happens when you become big time, like comedians. You know, Adam Sandler, he's not living a regular life anymore. He doesn't just do anything except go on hotel rooms and airplanes. So he needs other people who live regular lives to write his material for him.
Oh, really? So he doesn't really do anything. I don't think he's been very funny for quite some time. He always does that same shtick that I get tired of. What do we Oh, yeah. Well, that's the monkey sound.
Todd Schowalter.
So what? That's exactly right. So anyway, so you're not going to be a father. You've been with Steve Templeton across the street, and it's been a horrible, horrible start to this new year. It's going to be interesting, if not a good show, and it is the Right Mind Show. In the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter with my buddy who has no voice. He does have a robot talking with him. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, political trivia savant, Rich Rubino. Welcome back to the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now, a man who never likes to fight, but isn't afraid to assault a driveway before a snowstorm, Todd Schowalter.
On the line is our buddy, the political savant himself, who's going to get us all back to normal here, Rich Rubino. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on again, Todd.
Well, yeah, it's great to have a little bit of normalcy back. I mean, we've been stuck in a blizzard here with ice. Joey's been at a hotel across the street. California is burning, and Donald Trump is buying Greenland. We need some just normalcy back in our life. And now Jimmy Carter dies, and I want jump into something and help me out here, Rich. How's the Jimmy Carter tribute going?
I just finished, actually. I did a little bit of, I was on a couple of stations about it, and it was actually very moving. And he had Gerald Ford's son actually was one of the people that delivered the eulogy. Mm-hmm. And it was something, Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter actually ran a pretty vicious campaign against each other in '76, but later they reconciled. And they made an agreement that Carter or Ford, one of them would deliver the eulogy at the other's funeral, and if one of them dies after the other one, then their son would deliver it. So it was very interesting to see the son kind of delivering the eulogy that Gerald Ford had actually written before his death all the way back in 2006 for Jimmy Carter.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that. Now, is this the son that was like on the soap opera and he was an actor?
Yep, Young and the Restless. That's the one, Steve Ford, yes.
Okay, so this could be his big comeback. So, I mean, do you think he was excited about this? I mean, this could be my shot to get back on the Young and the Restless?
Yes, he was very charismatic. Is Young and the Restless still on television?
I don't know. Victor Newman, I think, that's the only guy I remember. And I know that Ford's son was not Victor Newman. Anyway, He didn't bring that up on the tribute, I'm sure. Well, what happened on the tribute? I mean, did they just talk about what a great guy he was? What, in your opinion, I mean, what kind of president do you think Jimmy Carter was?
I think that he's a misunderstood president. And the reason I think he's a misunderstood president is because a lot of differences. People today look back on him, I think, as more of a Democrat or a liberal. But at the time, there was a lot of consternation amongst liberals toward Jimmy Carter because when he came into office, they thought that he was going to be like Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society. Instead, he wanted to cut programs. He wanted to balance the budget by 1981. And Tip O'Neill and the Democratic Party sent him some water projects that they had been favoring since the last Democratic president, and Carter vetoed them. Consequently, getting Republican votes to sustain his veto. Consequently, in 1979, Ted Kennedy and Jerry Brown both ran against him from the left for the Democratic presidential nomination, and Carter barely won. But he had a lot of disunity in the Democratic Party, and he also increased the military budget. And one thing he did do that may have cost him the presidency is he put Paul Volcker in charge of the Federal Reserve. This was the time of stagflation, which economists said should never happen when you have both increased job losses and increased inflation. And he put Paul Volcker, who had a tight money policy, in there. That obviously created somewhat of a recession at the time and hurt Jimmy Carter politically. But most of his opposition was more from the left than the right, but obviously he's moved further to the left since his presidency.
Do you think, like, if it had been today, he would have run as a Republican? Because you could say that about a lot of, some of the Democrats. I mean, even if you look at Kennedy, people say, well, if Kennedy were around today, he would have been a Republican. Could you say that for Carter?
I don't think. Well, yeah, for Carter, you probably can say that more so. In the case of Kennedy, it's interesting because a lot of people say that because he did support tax cuts, but he did it for more or less for a liberal reason. He wanted to do it to stimulate the economy, Keynesian economics, and there was a lot of conservative Republicans like Barry Goldwater who were opposed to it. But Kennedy also favored a lot of the domestic programs that Johnson eventually supported. He favored more aid to education. He supported the Medicare program. He supported civil rights, but had a lot of opposition for both Southern Democrats and Western-style, Barry Goldwater-style Republicans. In the case of Carter, he's kind of an iconoclast because, and this is when he was the president, I think he moved further to the left afterward, but his fiscal policy was more conservative, and his social policy would not be accepted in the Democratic Party today. I think that he was, for example, against abortion rights personally, but he says that from a political standpoint, he accepted Roe v. Wade. I guess that's sort of like Joe Biden's stance, but obviously times change a lot politically, and certainly somebody like Jimmy Carter with a lot of his policies, I think he'd be seen as more on the conservative spectrum of the Democratic Party. But I don't know if he necessarily would have become Republican. But that being said, a lot of Southern Democrats did gradually become Republicans, and a lot of suburban Republicans in places like New Jersey, Massachusetts, Vermont gradually matriculated to the Republican Party. But the South used to be the solid South. That was the Democratic bailiwick right there. In every election, they would win the southern states, and gradually the southern states became more and more Republican. And today, it's very rare for a Democrat, except for in some urban parts of the South, to get elected.
Well, speaking of all the change, I mean, even right now, it's interesting that you bring that up because, I mean, you look at the Democratic Party, where they stand. I think right now, where are they going to go? I mean, do you have any predictions? Because they're in such a situation where a lot of the things that I think they'd gone so far left that they shot themselves in the foot that they have people they're saying enough already. Do you think you're going to see a huge shift in the Democratic Party?
I think you're going to have somebody that's going to do what Bill Clinton did in 1992 and try to bring the message to the center, and there are going to be candidates who are going to do that. I think Governor Shapiro, who was on the short list for Vice President Harris to choose as a running mate, will be somebody who I think will probably run. And my guess is he'll probably be very attractive because the argument will be, well, if you chose me on the ticket, I'm governor of Pennsylvania. Maybe I would have given you Pennsylvania. Maybe unlike Tim Walz, who didn't seem to have any political benefit, I would have done well in places like Michigan and Wisconsin. Reminds me a little of John F. Kennedy, who in 1956, Adlai Stevenson let the convention choose the Democratic presidential nominee, and it came down to Kennedy and Kefauver. Kefauver got the nomination. Stevenson lost miserably to Eisenhower. Consequently, a lot of Democrats said, well, what if we had nominated Kennedy? Maybe we nominated Kennedy, we would have won. And Kennedy ended up winning in 1960. I think also Governor of North Carolina, I think you might see Governor Cooper get into it. I think Governor Beshear, another centrist governor of Kentucky. But the problem Democrats have in the general election, I think, in terms of if they move too far to the center, one of the problems they have is the Green Party, and the fact that someone like Jill Stein, if they can get 1 or 2 or 3% of the vote and siphon off by saying that the Democratic Party is too far to the center, then they potentially 1 or 2% of that Democratic base goes over to the Green Party in a very close election. That could cost the Democrats the election. So I think that's kind of the problem that they had. You do see Vice President Harris trying to move to the center, for example, rescinding her position on banning fracking. She chose Tim Walz, who I think was somebody she tried to show off the fact that he was a hunter and a sportsman. She said that, remember, she said she had a gun, she had a Glock, and don't mess with me.
I certainly wouldn't. No, of course not. Who would?
So she was trying to move to the center, but the problem she had is when she first ran for president in 2019. When she was running, Elizabeth Warren and Ted Kennedy, and Bernie Sanders were also running, and they were running to the left. And for Harris, in order to win that nomination, she had to move to the left. She never got anywhere the first time she ran for president, but she had taken certain positions, and she was on record for taking those positions. So in 2024, when she tried to move to the center, you could pull up former interviews that she had taken, and in those interviews, she was trying to compete with Bernie and Elizabeth, and that really did not benefit her politically in 2024.
You see this back and forth, and you see some areas where they could have had that progression so far to the left. I mean, do you think somebody like Shapiro or somebody like that could actually be like a Bill Clinton?
Yes, absolutely. I think that Shapiro, I think that Governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, the outgoing governor, I think that Andy Beshear of Kentucky. Usually Democrats, when they're successful, oftentimes it's when they nominate somebody from outside Washington. Jimmy Carter, former governor of Georgia, Bill Clinton, governor of Arkansas, or when they nominate, or for that matter, Barack Obama. I mean, he was, obviously he'd just been elected to the Senate 2 years before, and he immediately started running for president. When there's somebody that's not kind of tainted by the Washington culture, it tends to help the Democrats. Joe Biden is kind of the exception to that because he's obviously been in Washington since he was first elected in 1972. But I think there's going to be a battle in the Democrats. There are going to be those who are going to be on the Bernie Sanders wing. You're going to say the Democratic Party lost because they weren't far left enough. They weren't doing enough to cater to the traditional working class voter, traditional Democratic constituencies. Then there'll be those in the center, like potentially those three governors I mentioned, maybe somebody else who are going to try to bring the party closer to the center. It's going to be some sort of a battle. It's interesting. Joe Biden, when he won the nomination, it was similar to Clinton because he was very few Democrats' favorite Democrat.
Right.
A lot of Democrats voted for him because they thought he was electable. They wanted to get Trump out. It wasn't about. There's very few Democrats that would say very enthusiastic about Joe Biden. They say we want Joe Biden because the polls show he could do better with working class voters than say Elizabeth Warren could or Kamala Harris could. That's why he won the nomination. But consequently, he never really had that full throttle support within the liberal wing of the Democratic Party. They've always been kind of lukewarm toward him. And that's what would have to happen. They'd have to have in order for the Democrats to nominate somebody who's closer to the center, that candidate would have to make the argument to the left wing of the Democratic Party, similar to what Bill Clinton did in 92 or Jimmy Carter did back in 1976. So look, I may not be your favorite Democrat, but I can get elected. I'm somebody that can actually get elected. You nominate somebody from the left, then maybe you're going to get rid of that Jill Stein threat, but you're not going to be able to get enough voters over in the center. So you have to make the case that in order to do any sort of change, in order to bring the country at least to the center left, then you have to have somebody that can actually get elected. And if you go somebody from the far left of the Democratic Party, if they run against a Republican, potentially they're having less of a chance of winning. But there are obviously people on the left wing of the Democratic Party that say that the only way to win is to galvanize the Democratic base. And if they had someone who's the heir to the Bernie Sanders throne, I guess they would think that that person could somehow win everybody that's on the Democratic base and be able to win in the general that way.
What do you think, even looking back? I mean, again, bringing Carter back into the situation, we've got with Biden, we have two one-term presidents, and it seems there's a lot of similarities. Like when Carter went out and Reagan came in, it wasn't a good time, and everybody was just hoping for some major change. And I think we're at that point again now. But you look at the legacy standpoint. I mean, here we've got people, Jimmy Carter's 100 years old, and, people are remembering him for the most part fondly. Do you think with all the stuff, and again, this is a little bit subjective on my part, but I mean, with all the bad things that came along with Biden, do you think at any point in history that people are going to look back on Joe Biden and have some good things to say?
Yeah, I think that obviously history is about the person who writes the history, and history, people that have a left-wing view of history are going to say, look, this is the argument that a historian from a left-wing perspective would say. They'd say he got the infrastructure passed. They'd say, yes, inflation increased when he was president, but had he not gotten the recovery after COVID, had he not tried to stimulate the economy, we would potentially have been in a depression, maybe a recession. Something to that effect. They'll say that he got this through. He got a lot of legislation through. He got the PACT Act through. He got the CHIPS Act through, the CHIPS Science Act through. So consequently, there'll be a lot of jobs created through that. They'll talk about the NATO. They'll say that he expanded the alliance in NATO. He did not cause a major war. Now, the other side of that, the conservative side is going to, first of all, they're going to point to what happened when the country exited Afghanistan. I think in the Afghanistan basically the Taliban took right over and took it back to where it was before. And they'll certainly point to the inflation that happened during Biden's administration. They'll point to the fact that there are polls that show 72% of the country at least believes that they're either at the same rate or worse off than they were when Joe Biden assumed office in 2020. So those are going to be the two kind of schools of thought. Obviously, like anything else, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. The one thing Joe Biden has going for him is, I guess, if you look at history, is there any president, this is the question, is there any president who was extremely unpopular during their administration who is seen as a great president today? And the one president who usually comes to mind is Missouri's own Harry Truman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He left office extremely unpopular. He had the lowest popularity of any president in American history. It was 22%. His party lost the White House that year, the presidency, and they lost the Congress. About 10, 15, 20 years down the road, people look at Harry Truman's legacy and they say he really did a good job. And today he's somebody that's seen as one of the 10 greatest presidents in American history. So that's probably the one president that he can look at and say that, somebody who was unpopular when they were in office, who today is looked upon as a great president. But obviously there are a lot of other presidents who were unpopular during the office that are not looked at as great presidents.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you think that, I don't know, Biden's going to follow Jimmy Carter's lead and start building houses for humanity?
I think he's going to spend a lot of time in Delaware, probably. I think he's going to be relaxing more than anything else. He has had a very stressful life.
Yeah,
he's had a very stressful life. If you look at what's happened with him, certainly going back to when he lost his wife and lost his kid in the car accident, and then what happened to Beau Biden. I mean, I think he's probably, he's somebody who's very much a creature of the Washington establishment. Whether you like him or not, it's hard to argue that he's not part of Washington.
Oh, yeah.
So when he goes back to Delaware, I mean, it's going to be in his blood that he's going to want to be somewhat politically active. I mean, the fact that he thought that he was going to be the presidential nominee this time, and from what reports have said, he thinks he could have actually won if he and not Vice President Harris were the nominee. So I think he's definitely it's hard for me to see him going into the cold good night and just kind of riding his horse back to Delaware. But my guess is he's going to spend at least a couple of months just kind of relaxing and maybe going to Nantucket, maybe going to Palm Beach, and just kind of relaxing. I mean, he is obviously 82 years old, and we've never had a president that old before, but he's probably going to be doing a lot of relaxing. Then I think he'll probably try to get more active, and obviously he's going to be incensed because Donald Trump is going to try to rescind a lot of his policies. And my guess is that Joe Biden is going to do something to try to let it be known that he's not very happy.
Well, going back to Trump, we're about a week away, and because it's a Saturday night, so a week from Monday, Donald Trump will be the new president. What do you think we can look forward to or expect in the coming weeks after he becomes president again?
He's going to try. Usually, the first year is the most productive year of a president because we're in this perpetual campaign cycle where the first year the president can get legislation passed or try, assuming he has his own party in control of both houses, and he does, even though it's extremely narrow in the House and relatively narrow in the Senate. Then the second year, everybody's campaigning for re-election. The third year, everyone's campaigning for president. The fourth year, everyone's campaigning for president. So it's really 1 year window that a president has today to try to actually get legislation passed. And it's really within that 1 year, it's really the first 100 days. So I think he's working with John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, the new one, and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. They're going to try to get his tax cut through. They're going to try to get his mass deportations through. The question is, will it be one major bill? Will it be two major bills? And obviously, in the House of Representatives right now, because it's so close, you're going to have basically a one-seat majority. Every single Republican is going to be Joe Manchin. Remember last year, Joe Manchin, when it came to the Inflation Reduction Act, everything else, every Democrat had to cater to Joe Manchin because he was so powerful. This time around, in the House of Representatives with 435 members, if one moderate Republican says, I don't like this that Donald Trump's proposing, I want to change this, guess what? They actually have the power to do that. So some freshman congressman from upstate New York or a congressman like Don Bacon from Nebraska who represent districts that went for Kamala Harris last time, they have a lot of leverage this time around. And Donald Trump is going to be calling those people. The Speaker of the House is going to be calling those people. Are going to try to get every possible concession. So basically, everyone's going to be a Joe Manchin.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And again, I mean, it's going to be an interesting time. You know where I say I'm obviously very optimistic about it. But I mean, do you think America as a whole? You think we're going to be in a better place a year from now than we are right now?
It's a great question. Boy, that is a $64,000 question. The economic numbers that we've seen show the economy is improving, but the problem is the American people are not feeling it right now. The American people tend to be very pessimistic about it, and inflation obviously is not at the numbers that Americans want it to be at. But that being said, the job numbers are increasing. We have created more jobs, and we do have a net job increase. So that in that respect, the economy should be better by that particular point in time. The question is obviously going to be, is that because of Joe Biden? Is that because of Donald Trump? Is that because of things that have nothing to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump? My guess is it's probably going to be a little of all three of those things. But I would say right now that the country and the economy will probably be a better place. The other question will be, where will we be militarily? And obviously, if there is a major war or a major scandal, something to that effect, and obviously that will work against that.
Yep, it's going to be interesting times, and when we get too tired, though, we can just go relax by the Gulf of America and have a nice break. You did hear about that, didn't you? Yes.
Or we can take a little. We can relax in the summer in Greenland too.
Exactly. It's already looking up. I mean, I'm excited, my friend. Well,
absolutely.
Oh boy. Well, as always, you're always the best, and I enjoy having you on. And it's just good to catch up with you. And we'll be talking with you many more times in 25.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you got anybody like from 60 Minutes that calls you and tries to bump the show, don't. I mean, I understand once or twice, but just let them know who your favorite, what your favorite show is. Okay?
Categorically.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you. Thank you much.
Thank you so much.
Rich Rubino. All right. Well, Joey, what do you think of him? I mean, I tell you what, he's always full of knowledge and a wealth of information, and I feel bad that I cut him off and we had to reconnect, but, he seemed to take that in stride because he's such a veteran now.
It's going to be hard to continue mourning Jimmy Carter's death when we talk to someone so fun, so bubbly as Rich Rubino.
Yeah, I know. And plus, were you really kind of like upset about the whole Jimmy Carter death? Because again, he was like 100 years old. I mean, come on. I mean, I saw Amy Carter. Did you? She was way before your time, but she was like the very unattractive little girl that he had at the time, and now she's like an unattractive older girl. But I mean, she was crying, just bawling at this funeral, and I felt like just reaching out to the television saying, "Come on, lady! I mean, he's 100 years old. It had to have happened eventually, don't you think?"
Mm-hmm. We should start some sort of series that could go on Nick at Night or something to remember him by. We'd have his reanimated corpse come and teach a bunch of kids.
Well, that's Joe Biden.
And they could have a school with the sweat hogs or something. We call it Welcome Back, Mr. Carter.
Oh, that would be good. And then we got like somebody, we call him like Vinny, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then we call him Vinny Biden-Rito, okay? And then like he'll say like, Mr. and you be Mr. Carter, and he says something in class, and Vinny Biden-Rito puts his hand up and says, huh? How's that sound?
What? Who? Me?
Yeah, something like, no joke. Yeah. I can't stop talking today. Can you tell that I haven't been out?
I'm give you a dose of my NyQuil.
I'm going to
see if we can make you nod off mid-show.
I'm going to have to. I'm a little wired. Hey, when we come back, we'll be back. In the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter on my bestest buddy Joey V, who doesn't have a voice. This is The Right Mind Show on News Talk STL. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, conspiracy theorist, Rachael Vavra. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on News Talk STL, and now a man whose wife is never happy when it snows, no matter how many inches the weatherman predicts, Todd Schowalter.
Hey, we're back. I'm Todd Schowalter on my bestest buddy Joey V, who doesn't have a voice. And on the line now is my new friend, Rachael. Is it Vavra? How do you say your last name? I always ask that. How is it?
Vavra.
Vavra. I like that. Oh, I like that. That's smooth and nice. Okay. Well, Rachael, I made it a point that I reached out to you because I follow you on social media. You have a lot of nuggets that you bring to the forefront on things that just don't really add up. And I don't know, they're not so much conspiracies because a lot of the stuff you've been right on, but how did you get involved in this, and how are some of the things that how are some of the ways that we're being hoodwinked?
Well, in many ways. But back in 2015 is when I started my digging. Uh-huh. And, I've never been one to sit and watch a TV show or movies. I've always found that there was much deeper things that, attracted my attention. And so back in 2015, I started hearing some conspiracies and started deep diving into them. And a lot of them just kind of made sense to me. I mean, even though they seemed crazy, I started digging more. And it prompted me to start a Facebook group. And I started posting, the stuff that I was finding, everything from the fake moon landing to different things that, were in our food. So I just started adding a bio to my Facebook group, and people started coming in, and it was really gaining momentum, my Facebook group. And I knew I was onto something, even though, people in my inner circle, just thought some of the things that I found and told them were just out of this world. They were more interested in, just the top part of it and not the layers underneath that made me understand or believe what I was reading was true. And so, I just kept posting stuff, and I gained about, 5,300 some friends on Facebook, and was gaining momentum with that. And Facebook shut me down, and they took my profile page as well that had over 5,000 people as well. And so I've been on the hunt ever since, and I have come across some very interesting findings, and I just like to share the truth of what I believe with people and give them the information that I've seen, and they can make their own decision. So that's where I started it all. What are some of the biggest ones that you think are out there that you believe to be true that you're getting pushback on? What's out there right now that I don't know whether you want to call it a conspiracy theory or not? What would you say is the biggest one? Probably the moon landing up until just recently, because I've been posting a lot of stuff because, the moon landing, was done in an airplane hangar. I have a deathbed confession of a guy whose father was there and witnessed it. And, so I have the footage of that. So it's something I can send to people now. But, a lot of people believe that Neil Armstrong went to the moon, and, we didn't go to the moon. And there's so much evidence of that that I have. So it's one thing I can send to people, say, watch this, the Hollywood production, the deathbed confession. Another one is the adrenochrome.
Explain that one. That's like the blood or something, isn't it? Like the children's blood?
So, right. So, they what these elite sick people do is they torture children and infants to the point where it releases a drug type adrenaline in their blood, and these people drink it, and it gives them some type of euphoria. It makes them look younger. That's why a lot of these elite people, they look, they're older now and they look younger still because they've been consuming this. They've been consuming this adrenalized blood from tortured children that are under the tunnels.
Now, and again, these are out there, and a lot of people will say, "Well, wow, I mean, this is just crazy stuff here." But and again, I mean, you look at things, a lot of things. I mean, I've got to say that I will say, "Well, this is just a little bit too out there." But then, if you do some digging, that years later, things start to fall into place, and then then what do you do? So I mean, and again, I mean. It's hard. I mean, I guess it's hard being you to as far as what you study and what you do and what you dig into. I mean, what is it like when you get all these people? Because I've had it too. I've had people say, "Oh, you're just crazy. You're weird. You're strange." I mean, how do you deal with that? You just say take it with a grain of salt and move on, or what do you do?
Yeah, I just I say when it all comes out, you'll understand that everything I was telling you was true. Everybody has the resources that I do to dig into this, these things. And because I don't watch television, or, they might want to tell me about a TV series, and that's not something I'm interested in, instead of me watching television, because they'll say, "Oh, well, you have a lot of time on your hands." I'm like, well, I don't watch TV series or soap operas or movies. My TV, soap opera, or movie is digging into what's going on into the world. So, that's how I spend my time. And so when, people, say that to me, I just say, okay, well, you will see when it comes out, and I'll give you the information. And if you want to look into it, you can. And if not, I'm still going to keep doing what I'm doing and finding what I'm finding.
Where do you,
and it drives me.
No, I understand. Where do you do most of your research? I mean, so if you're say if there's a topic that you're pretty sure is true that people are trying to push under the rug, how would you go about doing your research for something?
So I'll go on to different browsers like DuckDuckGo. I get a lot of information from Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
Telegram is a place where people post things that, are not censored. And you cannot post a lot of the stuff on Telegram. You cannot post it on Facebook because they'll, they won't let you send it in a messenger or something like this. So I started a small group on Telegram now. It doesn't have a lot of people in it, but the people that want to join it, the stuff that I get from Telegram, I can move it over to my Telegram channel and send it to people that way. But I get a lot of stuff from Telegram mostly. And I guess there's a new browser out called Speak Truth. I think it's called Speak Truth, where there's a lot of stuff on there too. I also get a lot of stuff from YouTube. Even though YouTube has scrubbed a lot of the stuff, I'm always able to find a way to get it somehow on YouTube. But they pay people to get rid of a lot of stuff on there. So you have to really dig deep to get the information. So,
well, we look forward to having you back, and you take care. And hey, go write some better scripts, okay?
Yes.
You got it.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, that's Rachael Vavra with us there, Joey. And I got to tell you, now here's the first thing. Okay, we're going to have listeners, and I can even picture them out there going, what a kook. Why did you have that? But here's the thing. I'm not saying she's right on all this, and there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with. But, I think it's everybody's human nature just to question some things if it's a big deal, don't you? I question a lot. You ever notice, like I say, Three Musketeers bar. How did they get the actual, the chocolate inside the outside chocolate? You know what I mean? There's got to be a deeper story to that.
Yeah, and with the snowpocalypse that just happened, I assume the same people that own the snowplows also own the tow trucks. So they just say, well, if we don't plow the snow,
you're right,
they'll just call us up and they have to use our tow trucks and they make even more money.
And the grocery stores too. I've always said, I think if they're having there's just a surplus, they'll say, even if it's July, they'll get a hold of Steve Templeton, who you stayed with across the street when you were snowed in, and they'll say, hey, Steve, say it's going to snow so people would come out and buy a bunch of junk. You know what I mean? So I think they're all in connection with that. Do you think Steve is paid off? Now that you're like roommates, do you think you could ask him that?
Yeah, price fixing, gouging, monopolies, all of it.
The thing is, I don't know. Now, what do you, now the moon landing, I don't agree. I do. Because there's just too many things. And you're watching the Saturn V, blast off. You got people like that. I think I'm almost positive we went to the moon, but she doesn't, but that's okay. What do you think? You think we went to the moon, or do you think we went to Arkansas?
I could explain a conspiracy theorist side by saying, there was the space race with Russia.
Right.
So it was really about who could get to the moon first. And I bet we had just enough of it figured out to get us up into space, but not to land on the moon itself.
Oh.
So, you shoot the rocket up, bye-bye,
yeah.
and then you pipe in
then
the
you go
Stanley
to
Kubrick hangar footage and say, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And then you say, bring them back. And then they just bloop, and put on the afterburners, and they come back and they say, what a great trip we had.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I can question stuff like that. It doesn't, and why didn't we ever go back?
I bet we do have the technology now to get there so quick and easy, but who cares now?
Yeah, we've already done
it.
We
beat Russia. That's all. That was the main goal. So now, the moon doesn't even have pretzels. Why would we go to the moon if there's nothing up there?
They don't have an Aldi there. I know that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now you got me flummoxed, and I guess I'll think about this for the rest of the hour. In the meantime, I'll like try to warm up. Are you feeling better? Because your voice is coming back. Or are you just worried about this bald like robot taking your job?
I did take a big old shot of Dayquil before you got here.
Sorry. Okay,
so I am jacked.
You're
extra
chill.
strength.
Well, you're really kind of chill because you're kind of lounging back like in a lawn chair here, which I've never seen you do before.
And I also got these very expensive cough drops where when you get to the middle, it's like molten lava cake, and they just bust in the back of your throat.
You keep offering me one, and I'm like, are you like a pusher for these things? What's the deal?
Well, I was at Menards, and they have the 15% off brown paper bag discount. Whatever you can fit in the brown paper bag, it's 15% off. So I just stocked up, and the big thing, car batteries. You can fit a car battery in that bag. Oh, it was great.
Really? Are they still doing this?
Yeah, they're still doing it. I mean, you have to make sure you honor the spirit of the deal. Oh. So don't try and stick a refrigerator into the brown paper bag because it's just not going to work.
Break. I'll tell you a little Menard thing that nobody really cares about except for me, but they have the best plastic bags. In fact,
for cat poop? Yes.
I'll go in there. I'll go into Menards and I'll just like buy a pack of gum.
Quadruple bag it.
With 50 of these things, and I use those for luggage. I mean, I tell you what, when I travel, they're just my Menards plastic bags. They're the best.
Duct tape that bag shut, and it's going through TSA.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I guess that's going to do it. Are you pretty much tuckered out today? Is this pretty much it? Are we going to go back into Snowpocalypse and just wait for July to hit?
I can't wait to go back to the Courtyard by Marriott across the street and get tucked in. I'm
so
tuckered out. I want to get tucked.
You got double beds, though. Steve's not like spooning with you, right?
Yeah, we jump back and forth between the beds.
Oh, that is fun. Yeah, I used to do that with Larry Connors, but he said don't do that anymore.
The entire point of a hotel is the sleeping part.
Yeah.
So what they did was they thought, hey, let's put in the loudest door mechanism that's ever been invented. So every time anyone shuts a door, it wakes you up. And then let's have the room cleaners come at 9:30 a.m. Even though checkout's at noon, we got to make sure these SOBs are wide awake.
And they don't talk English.
Oh, my God.
Like, no, not right now. It's like, no, that's it. Just go away.
And the air conditioner, let's see if we can make that louder, especially every time it cha-chunks on and cha-chunks off. My God, Courtyard by Marriott. It was very pleasant, though. It was clean.
Well, if they want to sponsor the show, it was great. Then it's just like it's like the Ritz-Carlton, okay? But if they don't, well, they can just take their Steve Templeton and go home.
My Priceline app gave me the hotel $107 for one night. I pulled out of my pocket.
Really?
I laid it on the table, and I said, I got to make this money up somehow. So please go to StudioTodd.com if it's not hacked and buy a shirt or something.
Yeah, well, it is back. In fact, now it's like Todd S. Prod for Todd S. Productions. Okay, so if you go to Studio Todd or that, you've got double ways of getting there and pay for your next hotel stay. I know for a fact, though, the next time I plan one of my trips, Tony Colombo will not be my travel agent because he obviously doesn't
Guy
know
booked a hotel, said, pack your swimming trunks. There's no pool to be found in the place. What is this guy's deal?
I tell you, I'm losing it. I'm ready for I just want this horrible month to be over, that when I'm elected, whatever I'm elected, will be gone because there's no place for January, and there won't be soon. Hey, have you had a good time today besides been sitting with me, dealing with a robot, and just being all over the board? This has been probably the most spazzopolis show we've ever had.
I can't wait to get prodded by Todd. Right now, I'm at toddsprod.com.
Todd's Prod.
Just getting prodded. Oh, my
I
goodness.
like it. Todd's Prod. That's a great way of remembering it.
Todd's Prod.
Todd's Prod. Yeah, do you like that?
I like that.
Okay, that's Todd's Prod. Go prod yourself at Todd's Prod. Well, that's going to do it for me. This show has been wacky, hasn't it? Well, okay, here comes Mitch. He's finally coming back. Hey, well, like I always say on the Right Mind Show, Juice down, boy. Juice is here now, too. If you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. I don't think I have a mind today, buddy. This freezing weather is taking it away, and you too. Well, hey, in the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. You've been very patient and very nice to stay tuned, or for staying tuned to this episode of The Right Mind. Oh, very good. And like I always say, if you don't have a right mind, and like I always say, if you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. Till next time, stay warm. Along with my bestest buddy, Joey V, I'm Todd Schowalter. This is The Right Mind Show. Till next week, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to StudioTodd.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at newstalkstl.com.